Chapter 1. A Life Cut Short. Holly Carter had just graduated college with big dreams. Get a job, pay off her student loans, maybe even travel someday. But life had other plans. On a rainy evening, she stopped at a convenience store to buy coffee. She didn't notice the masked man until it was too late. "Give me the money," he shouted at the cashier, waving a gun. Holly froze. The cashier fumbled with the register. A shot rang out, then another. Pain exploded in her chest. Everything went black. Awakening among the stars. Holly gasped, her eyes flying open. Where am I? Instead of a hospital, she was lying on a sleek metal floor. The air smelled sterile like a high-tech lab. The walls glowed with blue light and a low hum vibrated beneath her. She sat up, no pain. No wound. Just her old jeans and hoodie now looking terribly out of place. A door slid open with a hiss. A man stood there, tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp silver eyes and dark hair tied back. His fitted black uniform had glowing insignias she didn't recognize. He frowned. "Who are you?" Holly scrambled back. Who are you? Where am I?" The man's expression darkened. "This is the SS Orion. And you're an unauthorized stowaway." Holly's heart pounded. I didn't stow away. She looked around wildly. "What year is it?" The man raised an eyebrow. 3024. Holly's stomach dropped. 3024. She had died. And somehow she had woken up 1,000 years in the future. The cold captain. The man, Captain Kael Veyron, didn't believe her at first. "You expect me to believe you're from the past?" His voice was deep, edged with skepticism. Holly hugged herself. "I don't expect you to believe anything. But it's the truth." Kael studied her. Her clothes, her confusion, the way she stared at the holographic displays like they were magic. Finally he sighed. "Until I figure out what to do with you, you stay under my watch. No wandering. No trouble." Holly nodded quickly. No trouble." As he turned to leave, she blurted out, "Wait." He glanced back. Holly swallowed. "Thank you. For not throwing me out an airlock or something." A flicker of something, amusement, passed over his face before his usual sternness returned. "Don't thank me yet." The door closed behind him, leaving Holly alone in a future she didn't understand. But one thing was clear, her old life was gone. And somehow she had to survive. Chapter 2. A Stranger in the Stars. Holly's first real day in the year 3024 was overwhelming. The SS Orion was nothing like the cramped spaceships she'd seen in movies. It was massive, gleaming corridors, floating holograms, and doors that slid open before she even touched them. Every time she passed a window, her breath caught at the sight of endless stars. She was supposed to stay in her assigned quarters, but curiosity got the better of her. Lost in the future. She wandered into what looked like a common area. Crew members in sleek uniforms chatted, some sipping drinks that shimmered like liquid starlight. A few glanced at her, eyes lingering on her outdated clothes. One woman, tall with violet skin and silver hair, smirked. "You must be the stowaway." Holly stiffened. "I'm not a stowaway. I'm just lost." The woman raised an eyebrow. "Lost? In space?" Before Holly could answer, a voice cut in. "Mira, stop harassing our guest." Holly turned to see Kael standing behind her, arms crossed. His expression was unreadable. Mira grinned. "Just making conversation, Captain." Kael ignored her and looked at Holly. "You were told to stay in your quarters." Holly bit her lip. "I got hungry." A beat of silence. Then, "Follow me." A meal among strangers. Kael led her to what looked like a high-tech cafeteria. Instead of a menu, a holographic screen displayed options in a language Holly couldn't read. She hesitated. What's good here?" Kael pressed a few buttons. A tray slid out with a steaming bowl of something that smelled like spiced noodles. "Eat," he said. Holly took a bite, then nearly moaned. "This is amazing." Kael almost smiled. Almost. Nutrient-balanced synthetic protein. Holly blinked. "So, futuristic instant ramen?" This time the corner of his mouth did twitch. "Something like that." The crew's curiosity. As they ate, crew members passed by, some nodding at Kael, others openly staring at Holly. A young man with cybernetic eyes stopped at their table. Captain, is it true she's from the past? Kael's expression darkened. Rin, focus on your duties. Rin grinned. Just asking. History's my hobby. He turned to Holly. Did people in your time really think Mars was uninhabited? Holly nearly choked. Yeah. Rin looked delighted. Fascinating. Kael stood abruptly. Enough. Holly, come with me. A glimpse of kindness. He led her to the ship's observation deck, a quiet room with a massive window showing the swirling colors of a nebula. Holly gasped. It's beautiful. Kael watched her, his usual coldness softening just a fraction. You really don't know how you got here? She shook her head. One second I was dying, the next. I woke up here. Silence. Then, I'll help you adjust, he said quietly. But you have to follow the rules. No more wandering. Holly nodded. I promise. For the first time, Kael's stern gaze didn't feel so intimidating. Maybe in this strange new world she wasn't entirely alone. Chapter 3. The Mystery of Her Past. Holly had been on the SS Orion for a week and she was finally starting to get the hang of things. Sort of. She learned that the floating orbs in the hallway were cleaning drones, not alien pets. She figured out how to use the voice-activated shower, after accidentally flooding her quarters twice. And she stopped jumping every time the ship's AI spoke out of nowhere. But one thing still bothered her. Why was she here? An unexpected problem. Holly was in the mess hall, poking at a cube of gelatin-like food that changed flavors with every bite. She still preferred the futuristic ramen, when alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Crew members bolted from their seats. Mira rushed past her. Engine coolant leak. We're losing pressure. Holly froze. Coolant leak? That sounded bad. Kael's voice crackled over the ship's comms. All non-essential personnel evacuate to Sector 4. Engineering teams seal off the breach. Holly should have gone to safety. But instead she followed Mira. A fix from the past. The engine room was chaos. Steam hissed from pipes and a glowing blue liquid pooled on the floor. Kael and the engineers were frantically trying to seal a ruptured valve. Holly's eyes locked onto the problem. A pressure regulator was stuck. Without thinking, she grabbed a nearby tool. It's overheating. You need to manually release the pressure first. Kael turned, startled. Holly, get back. But she was already twisting the valve, just like she'd done on her old car's radiator. A loud hiss. Then the steam stopped. The leak slowed. Silence fell. Mira blinked. Did she just fix it? Kael stared at Holly like she'd grown a second head. Holly swallowed. Basic mechanics. The truth comes out. Later in Kael's private quarters he sat across from her, arms crossed. You knew how to fix that because... Holly fidgeted. My dad was a mechanic. I used to help him. Kael leaned forward. Holly. That system is ancient by our standards. No one repairs them manually anymore. She bit her lip. Well, in my time we did. A long pause. Then, show me. A trip to the archives. Kael took her to the ship's historical database. He pulled up records of Earth, 21st century. Holly's breath caught. There were her cities. Her music. Her world, preserved like a museum exhibit. Kael watched her carefully. Tell me something only someone from your time would know. Holly's voice was barely a whisper. The internet crashed if someone picked up the phone. Kael's eyes widened. That isn't in the official records. A dangerous secret. Kael exhaled sharply. You're really from the past. Holly nodded. He ran a hand through his hair. Do you have any idea how valuable that makes you? There are people who would kill to get their hands on someone with first-hand knowledge of pre-expansion Earth. Holly's stomach dropped. So what do we do? Kael met her eyes. We keep this between us. No one else can know. A beat. Then, thank you, Holly said softly. For believing me. Kael's gaze lingered on hers. Just don't make me regret it. But for the first time his voice wasn't cold. It was almost warm. Chapter 4. A Dangerous Favor. The distress signal came in the middle of the night cycle. Holly was half asleep when the ship's AI chimed in her quarters. Captain Veyron requests your presence on the bridge. She bolted upright. He wants me on the bridge. A ghost ship. When she arrived, Kael stood at the main console, his sharp features illuminated by holographic star charts. The crew buzzed with tension. Holly hesitated. You needed me? Kael didn't look up. We're receiving a distress call from a derelict vessel. No life signs, but the signature is unusual. Mira pulled up a scan, a small, boxy ship, drifting silently in the void. Holly's breath caught. Oh, it can't be. That's a NASA module, she whispered. Every head turned toward her. Kael's voice was low. You recognize it? Holly stepped closer, heart pounding. It looks like an old Earth spacecraft. But it shouldn't be here. A heavy silence settled over the bridge. Then Kael made a decision. We're boarding it. Echoes of the past. The derelict ship was eerily familiar. Metal panels, analog switches, even a faded American flag sticker. Holly ran her fingers over the controls. This is impossible. Kael watched her carefully. Could it have drifted this far? She shook her head. Not in 1,000 years. Then she saw it. A small, blinking device attached to the navigation system. Holly froze. That's not original equipment. Kael's expression darkened. A tracker. A voice crackled over their comms. Mira. Captain, we've got company. 3 ships just warped in. They're hailing us. Kael grabbed Holly's arm. We need to go. Now. The hunt begins. Back on the Orion, alarms blared. Myra's hands flew over the controls. They're demanding we surrender the relic and the time-displaced passenger. Holly's blood ran cold. They know about me. Kael's jaw tightened. Shields up. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Holly grabbed his sleeve. We can't outrun them. He turned, silver eyes blazing. Got a better idea? He swallowed. Maybe. A trick from history. Holly rushed to the comms panel. Mira, can you broadcast a signal on all frequencies? Mira blinked. Yeah, but... Do it. Kael gave a sharp nod. Holly took a deep breath, then spoke into the mic, her voice echoing across space. Attention, unidentified vessels. This is Captain Holly Carter of the Earth vessel Odyssey. You are trespassing in restricted space. Stand down immediately. Pause. The Earth vessel what? Mira snorted. They actually stopped. Kael stared at Holly. You bluffed them. She grinned weakly. People in my time were really scared of government paperwork. A narrow escape. The hesitation was all they needed. The Orion's warp drive flared to life, and with a lurch they shot into hyperspace, leaving the hunters behind. In the sudden quiet, Kael let out a slow breath. Then he turned to Holly. That was reckless. She winced. Sorry. But it worked. And for the first time he smiled. A real proper smile. Holly's heart did something funny in her chest. A promise in the dark. Later, alone in the observation deck, Kael handed her a cup of something warm. You saved us today. Holly wrapped her hands around the cup. Weirdha. A girl from the past saving a futuristic spaceship. Kael studied her. Holly, why do you think you're here? She looked out at the stars. I don't know. But I'm starting to think it wasn't an accident. A quiet moment passed. Then, whatever happens, Kael said quietly, I won't let them take you. Holly met his gaze. And for the first time she believed him. Chapter 5. Trust and Tenderness. The Orion had been traveling through quiet space for 3 days when Holly first felt it. A strange, creeping weakness in her limbs. At first she thought it was just exhaustion. Adjusting to life in the future was tiring after all. But when she stumbled in the hallway and had to catch herself against the wall, she knew something was wrong. A fever like no other. Holly barely made it back to her quarters before her knees gave out. Her skin burned, her vision blurred, and a strange humming filled her ears, like the universe itself was vibrating around her. She reached for the comm panel, fingers trembling. Holly to Kael. Static. Then darkness swallowed her whole. The captain's fear. Kael found her curled on the floor, drenched in sweat. His breath caught. Holly. He scooped her up, her body alarmingly light in his arms. Her skin was fever-hot against his chest. Mira rushed in behind him, scanners already whirring. Her cells are destabilizing. It's like her DNA is unraveling. Kael's grip tightened. Why? Mira hesitated. I think time itself is rejecting her. A cold dread settled in Kael's stomach. No, not her. Fix it, he growled. Memories in the static. Holly drifted in and out of consciousness, trapped in fever dreams. She saw flashes of her old life, her tiny apartment, her dad's laugh, the smell of rain on pavement. Then pain white-hot as her body fought against the fabric of this timeline. Somewhere in the haze, a cool hand pressed against her forehead. "Stay with me." Kael's voice. Holly wanted to answer, but the darkness pulled her under again. Desperate gamut. In the medical bay, Kael paced like a caged animal. Mira frowned at her screens. "There's one option. Temporal stabilizers, experimental tech, banned in most sectors. But if we can sync her molecular frequency to our timeline." "Do it," Kael said immediately. Mira hesitated. "It could kill her." Kael's jaw clenched. "And doing nothing definitely will." A long silence. Then Mira nodded. "The treatment." Holly woke briefly to needles and light and pain. And Kael's face above hers, his usual icy composure shattered. "Look at me," he ordered, voice rough. "Just keep looking at me." She did. Even as her body screamed. Even as the machines wailed around them. She held on to his gaze like an anchor. The first night. When the fever finally broke, Holly woke to dim lights and the steady beep of monitors. And Kael, asleep in a chair beside her bed, his head slumped forward, still in his uniform. She'd never seen him look so human. Holly reached out weakly, her fingers brushing his. His eyes flew open. "You're awake." His voice was raw with relief. Holly smiled weakly. "Miss me?" Kael didn't laugh. Didn't tease. Just looked at her, his silver eyes burning with something she'd never seen before. "Then, you scared me," he whispered. And Holly's heart stuttered. Confessions under stars. A week later, when she was strong enough to walk, Kael took her back to the observation deck. Holly wrapped herself in a blanket, still shaky. "So, am I stuck here now? No more time sickness?" Kael nodded. "Your cells are stable. You're here now. Really here." Holly exhaled slowly. "Good." A comfortable silence settled between them. "Then, why did you do it?" she asked softly. "Risk everything to save me?" Kael stared out at the stars. "Because I couldn't lose you." Simple. Honest. Devastating. Holly's breath caught. And when his hand found hers in the dark, she knew. This was where she belonged. Chapter 6. A Threat from the Shadows. The Orion docked at the bustling starport of Nova 9 for routine resupply, but Holly sensed tension in the air. Kael had been distant all morning, his jaw tight as he reviewed incoming transmissions. "We have a problem," he finally said, turning to her in the quiet of his quarters. "High Commissioner Drake is boarding the ship." Holly frowned. "Who?" "A powerful man with connections to the Temporal Research Division," Kael explained, his voice low. "If he discovers what you are." He didn't need to finish. Holly understood. The Commissioner's arrival. Drake stepped onto the Orion like he owned it. Tall, polished, with a smile that didn't reach his cold gray eyes. His gaze swept over the crew before landing on Holly. "Ah, the stowaway," he mused. "I've heard so much about you." Holly forced a polite nod, but her skin prickled under his scrutiny. Kael stepped between them, his tone perfectly diplomatic. "Commissioner, if you'd like a tour of the ship." "Actually," Drake interrupted, "I'd like a word with her first." A dangerous conversation. Drake led Holly to a private chamber, his demeanor shifting the moment the door sealed behind them. "Let's skip the pretenses, Miss Carter," he said smoothly. "You're not from this time. And I know exactly what that makes you." Holly's pulse spiked. "I don't know what you're talking about." Drake smirked. "Your DNA is 1,000 years out of place. You're a scientific marvel, one that could revolutionize temporal technology." He leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper. "And I intend to take you with me." Kael's choice. Holly didn't get a chance to respond before the door hissed open, revealing Kael, his expression stormy. "Commissioner," he said, voice dangerously calm. "You're overstepping." Drake straightened, unfazed. "Captain, this is a matter of galactic security. She belongs with the division." Kael didn't move. "She belongs here." The air between them crackled with tension. Then Drake sighed, feigning regret. "A shame. I'd hoped you'd be reasonable." He tapped a device on his wrist, and the Orion's alarms blared. Security breach in Sector 3. Myra's voice shouted over the comms. Unauthorized intruders. Fight or flight. Drake's men swarmed the halls. Kael grabbed Holly's wrist. Run. They sprinted through the ship, dodging laser fire. Kael shoved her into an escape pod bay, his breathing ragged. Get in, he ordered. Holly's eyes widened. Not without you. Kael cupped her face, his touch fierce. Listen to me. They want you alive. They won't hurt me. Why? They both knew it. Holly gripped his sleeves. Kael. He kissed her. Hard. Desperate. A promise and a goodbye. Then he shoved her into the pod, and the hatch sealed between them. The last sight. As the pod ejected into space, Holly's last glimpse of the Orion was Kael standing alone in the bay, facing Drake's armed guards, unarmed, unyielding. And then the stars swallowed her whole. Chapter 7. Fight for the Future. The escape pod tumbled through space, its stabilizers damaged. Holly clutched the harness, her heart pounding as warning lights flashed. Kael's last words echoed in her mind. They won't hurt me. She knew it was a lie. The pod's thrusters fired, forcing her into the seat as it veered toward a nearby planet. A jagged, neon-lit world shrouded in perpetual twilight. The Orion's database identified it as Vexus 5, a lawless outpost where mercenaries and fugitives traded in secrets. A dangerous landing. Smoke filled the pod as it crash-landed in a grimy docking bay. Holly kicked open the hatch, coughing, and stumbled into chaos. Around her, shadowy figures eyed the wreckage with interest. That's a military pod, a scarred woman muttered. Trouble follows that one. Holly had no weapons, no money, just the clothes on her back and Kael's last command ringing in her ears. Survive. A hand grabbed her arm. You look lost, a smooth voice said. Holly turned to see a man in a dark coat, his face half hidden beneath a hood. But his eyes, sharp and gold, locked onto hers with eerie focus. You're the one from the past, he murmured. Kael's stowaway. Holly recoiled. How do you? Because, he said, pulling back his hood to reveal a face strikingly similar to Kael's. I'm his brother. The brother's bargain. His name was Ryan Veyron, ex-military, ex-fugitive, and currently the only person who could help her. Drake's had a bounty on Kael for years, Ryan said, leading her through the outpost's back alleys. You're just the excuse he needed to finally arrest him. Holly's stomach twisted. Where is he now? The Orion's en route to a high-security prison, Ryan said. Drake plans to execute him for treason, after he extracts everything he knows about you. Holly stopped dead. We have to get him back. Ryan smirked. I have a ship. But it'll cost you. I don't have anything to. You have knowledge, he interrupted. Pre-expansion Earth history. Military tactics. Forgotten tech. His golden eyes gleamed. Help me retrieve something and I'll help you save Kael. Holly didn't hesitate. Deal. A heist in the dark. Ryan's plan was insane. They infiltrated a heavily guarded vault beneath the outpost, where a relic from Holly's time was stored. A data core from an old warship, one that supposedly held lost Earth technology. Why is this so important? Holly whispered as they dodged patrols. Ryan's grin was razor sharp. Because it's the key to tracking temporal anomalies. Like you. Holly's blood ran cold. Drake could use this to find others like me. They stole the core, barely escaping the vault's collapsing defenses, and fled to Ryan's ship, the Spectre. The rescue. The prison transport was a fortress in space. Ryan's ship cloaked, slipping past scanners as Holly suited up. Once we're in, we have 6 minutes before backup arrives, Ryan warned. If we're late, we die. Holly checked the stolen blaster at her hip. Then we'll be fast. They boarded silently, taking out guards with precise strikes. Holly's hands shook, but her resolve didn't waver. And she saw him. Kael was slumped in a cell, bruised but alive. His head snapped up as the door opened. Holly. His voice was raw disbelief. She rushed forward, gripping his face. I told you I wasn't leaving without you. For the first time Kael looked afraid, not for himself but for her. You shouldn't have come. Holly kissed him fierce and quick. Too late. The last stand. Alarms blared as they sprinted back to the Spectre, Drake's forces closing in. Ryan manned the guns, covering their escape as Kael dragged Holly aboard. Go! Kael barked. The ship lurched into warp, just as a missile grazed the hull. In the chaos Holly clung to Kael, his arms locking around her like he'd never let go. You're insane, he breathed against her hair. Holly laughed, giddy with adrenaline. You love it. Kael didn't deny it. A promise forged in fire. As the Spectre hurtled towards safe space, Ryan tossed Holly a smirk. Not bad, for a relic. Kael shot him a glare but Holly just grinned. They weren't safe yet. Drake would hunt them. The galaxy was still vast and dangerous. But in that moment, bruised, exhausted, alive, Holly knew one thing for certain. She'd crossed 1,000 years for a reason. And she'd fight for this future. For him. Chapter 8. Among the Stars Together. The Spectre emerged from warp space above a forgotten planet. Earth. Not the Earth Holly remembered. This one was lush and vibrant, its blue-green surface dotted with floating cities and glittering orbital rings. But the shape of the continents was still the same. Holly pressed her hand against the viewport, her throat tight. It's home. Kael stood beside her, his shoulder brushing hers. Drake's forces won't look for us here. The planet's under a preservation treaty. No military landings allowed. Ryan smirked from the pilot's seat. Sentimental and strategic. My brother's going soft. Kael ignored him, his focus entirely on Holly. There's something you need to see. The secret in the stars. They landed near the ruins of an old city. One Holly recognized instantly. This is where I lived, she whispered as they walked through vine-covered streets. That was my bus stop. That's where I bought coffee every. Her voice broke as they turned a corner. There, hidden beneath a crumbling overpass, stood a small time capsule vault, its surface etched with faded letters. Project Echo Test 47. Kael placed a hand on the door. This is why you're here. The truth unfolds. Inside, holograms flickered to life. Recordings of scientists in familiar lab coats. Final entry, a woman's voice echoed. If our calculations are correct, the quantum echo will stabilize in approximately 1,000 years. The subject won't remember, but her consciousness will anchor the transition. Holly's knees buckled. They sent me. Kael steadied her. Not just you. Dozens of volunteers scattered across time. You were meant to wake up in this era all along. Ryan whistled. So the accidental time traveler was actually a time pioneer. Holly stared at the holograms, at her own face among the researchers. I agreed to this? To save a future you'd never see, Kael said quietly. That sounds like you. Drake's endgame. They didn't have time to process the revelation. An alarm blared from the Spectre. Ryan cursed. Drake's found us. Kael grabbed Holly's hand. The core you stole, it's not just a tracker. It's a key to stabilize time jumps. He wants to control it. Holly met his gaze. Then we destroy it. The final stand. They set the trap in the ruins of an old stadium. When Drake's forces landed, they didn't expect the ambush, or the way the unstable core reacted to Earth's magnetic field. Holly stood at the center, the core pulsing in her hands. You wanted a weapon? She called to Drake. Here it is. He smashed it to the ground. A shockwave of temporal energy erupted, sending Drake's men scrambling as their own tech short-circuited. The commissioner screamed, You'll regret this. Before his shuttle dragged him away. And you, Dawn. In the quiet aftermath, Kael pulled Holly close. That was incredibly reckless. She grinned up at him. Worked though. Above them, the first stars of evening appeared. The same ones Holly had once dreamed beneath 1,000 years ago. Ryan clapped Kael on the shoulder. Well, brother? What now? Kael didn't hesitate. We rebuild. We protect this planet. And we... His voice caught as he looked at Holly. We stay together. Epilogue. Written in the stars. 1 year later. The Orion sailed through a nebula, its hull gleaming with new repairs. In the observation deck, Holly leaned against Kael, their fingers intertwined. Think we'll ever find the others? she asked. The ones like me? Kael kissed her temple. We've got all the time in the world to look. And as the ship soared into the unknown, Holly knew one thing for certain. Some journeys take 1,000 years. Some loves cross galaxies. And hers was just beginning. Chapter 9. Starlit Beginnings. Chapter. 6 months after their final battle with Drake, the Orion drifted near the edge of a newly charted star system, one that hadn't existed on any maps from Holly's time. She sat cross-legged on the observation deck, scrolling through historical archives on a holographic screen. Kael had given her full access to the ship's databases, and she'd spent weeks digging through records, trying to piece together what had happened to Earth in the centuries she'd missed. The door slid open behind her. "You're up late." Holly turned to see Kael leaning against the doorway, still in his uniform, his sleeves rolled up to his elbows. He looked tired but content, his silver eyes softening when they landed on her. "Couldn't sleep," she admitted, patting the space beside her. "Come stargaze with me?" He didn't hesitate. A quiet moment. Kael settled next to her, his warmth seeping into her side. Outside, the nebula shimmered in hues of violet and gold, casting a dreamlike glow over them. "What were you researching?" he asked, nodding at the hologram. Holly exhaled. "My old life. I found records of my parents. They never knew what happened to me." Kael's fingers brushed hers. "You could visit their graves. Earth's preservation team keeps records of burial sites." She shook her head. "I don't think I'm ready for that yet." A comfortable silence settled between them. "Do you ever regret it?" Kael asked quietly. "Ending up here?" Holly turned to face him fully. "Not for a second." His thumb traced her knuckles. "Even with the danger? The chaos?" He grinned. "Especially because of that." Kael huffed a laugh, a rare, unguarded sound that still made her heart skip. A surprise in the stars. The ship's AI chimed. "Incoming transmission. Priority frequency." Holly frowned. "Who's messaging us this late?" Kael stood, pulling her up with him. "Let's find out." They headed to the bridge, where Mira was already waiting, her violet skin illuminated by the main screen. "You're gonna want to see this," she said, pulling up the transmission. A woman's face appeared, human mid-30s with sharp green eyes and a smirk that felt eerily familiar. "If you're getting this message, it means the temporal anchor worked," she said. "My name is Dr. Alara Voss. And if you've found Holly Carter, tell her we have more to discuss." Holly's breath caught. The woman on the screen was her. Or rather, the version of her who had volunteered for Project Echo. A new mission. The transmission ended, leaving behind a set of coordinates, deep in uncharted space. Mira whistled. "Well, that's not creepy at all." Kael's grip on Holly's hand tightened. "We don't have to follow it." But Holly was already smiling. "Are you kidding?" She squeezed his fingers. "This is exactly the kind of trouble we specialize in." Kael sighed, but there was no real annoyance in it. Just fondness. His love. "Then I guess we're going," he murmured. Holly pressed a kiss to his jaw. "Admit it. You'd be bored without me." He didn't argue. The journey continues. As the Orion adjusted course, Holly stood at the helm, Kael at her side. Somewhere out there more answers waited. More mysteries. Maybe even more people like her, lost in time waiting to be found. But for now she had her crew. Her future. And the man who had crossed galaxies to keep her safe. The stars stretched endlessly before them. And Holly couldn't wait to see what came next.